Uh, okay, wait. Did it load? Okay, there we go.
Go, please stop pacing. You're making me stressed.
Alright, so this is gonna be our CLS training. This here is Novus. He's medic lead in the 104th.
Hey,
This here is Wilson. He's one of the alpha medics in our platoon. And that there, pacing back and forth, is Dingo. He is one of the Bravo medics in our platoon. I am Revenant. I believe, the 2IC of our medic corps, and I'm going to be demonstrating on how CLS works. So to begin things, we're going to make sure you have your medical menu keybind. To do this, you're going to push escape. You want to go down to configure, go to controls. First thing you want to do is go to common and unbind last help. Because usually last help is keybind to H, and we need that for our medical menu. After you do that, you're going to want to go to configure add-ons, go to ACE common, and at the very bottom, open medical menu. Make sure that's keybind to H. It doesn't have to be H. We recommend it though, just so if you forget what the medical menu is, usually all of us have it on H, so we can say, oh, it's H. But if you are a veteran armor, you can keybind that to something more comfortable as long as you remember it. Now, before we're done with keybinds, I want you to go down to C tab in this drop down menu. Toggle main interface, this usually will be H as well. You're gonna have to change that. I like it as Control H. That's just what I was taught. I know certain veterans have made that J. It's just totally up to your discretion, but it just can't be H. Okay. Any questions?
what
No.
if I already have that bound to something else?
That is totally fine.
Something H.
Yes, that's totally fine as long as you remember that is your medical menu. So yeah, it doesn't have to be H as long as you remember the keybind for yourself. But we recommend it being H, so if you ever forget, I can be like, oh, it should be H. So yeah. Now we're gonna go over the medical menu. So if I push H, the medical menu pops up. It tells you on the top left where you're currently looking at. So I'm currently looking at myself. So I am CMP 5151 Revenant. You'll see three little taskbars as you can see on the screen. Examine and treatment, status, overview, and at the bottom left you see activity log and quick view. To begin things off, we're going to go over examine and treatment. The view triage card on the little medical star will tell you what you have done and how long the effect has been on you. So for example, if I put a tourniquet on myself, bandage of fractures, it will tell you how long that tourniquet has been on for in the view triage card. So of course I just put it on, so 0 minutes, but that will tell you how long those been on for. Sometimes bandages will be listed on there to tell you how long they've been on for, and so on and so forth. Have this tourniquet real quick. Okay, next to the view triage card, you'll see examine patient. This is very important. We don't need to check blood pressure in our mod because blood pressure doesn't mean anything really anymore in ACE. But however, check pulse is very important. If I were to check my pulse, at the bottom right in quick view, it'll tell me what my pulse is. And it's currently 80 because I have not been in combat, and this is just a normal healthy heart rate in Arma. Whenever someone is unconscious, you want to constantly make sure they have a heart rate, and to do so, just make sure you click on examine patient, check pulse. If they have a tourniquet on that limb, you won't actually see their heart rate because the tourniquet will make it seem like they don't have a heart rate. So make sure if there's a tourniquet on that limb, you switch to a different limb that isn't tourniqueted. You could also check pulse through the head or the chest, so that's another way of doing it if all limbs are tourniqueted. So that's just a heads up. Now, in status, you'll see a little avatar of your character. In overview, it'll tell you what body part you're currently looking at. So, for example, I click my head, it says head in the overview. So there's no injuries to this body part. If there wasn't a head injury, it will tell you what type of wound it was, and that's how you know when to stitch or bandage or anything of that sort. If you notice, the bandage and fractures tab in examine and treatment turned off when I clicked head, because I can't put tourniquets on and I don't have any wounds, so that is blacked out due to that. When I select my right arm, that bandage and fracture tab opens up, and that's because even though I have no wounds, I can still apply a tourniquet before battle if I were to feel the need to. Also, medication, that opens up, and that brings up 3 types of different injectors. We have morphine, adenosine, and epinephrine, and I'll get into that later. So now I'm gonna demonstrate a wound before I get into all that. So who wants to be my test dummy? Okay. So I'm gonna shoot Novus here in the leg. Oh! That was louder than I thought it was gonna be. So as you can see, he's bleeding. His right leg is wounded. So I select it, right leg, bleeding, lost some blood. He gets fractured and severe pain and has 1 medium velocity wound. So usually, since it's only 1 wound, I'd probably just elastic this and stitch right away, but for demonstration purposes, we're going to act like he's unconscious. So what you would want to do is first tourniquet the limb.
Can I lay down?
You can't lay down. You may lay down. I'd tourniquet his leg. And then velocity wounds, they are usually, what bandages are usually good for velocity wounds are packing. They usually instantly pack any type of velocity wound. However, the bandages are different because elastics are our biggest bandage. So even though he has 1 velocity wound, if he had multiple velocity wounds, you could just spam a bunch of elastic bandages because they cover the most space, and then just stitch him. So yeah, we're gonna go over bandages right now. So elastic bandages, they cover the most space, but they fall off the fastest. So after 2 minutes, elastic bandages tend to fall off. Packing bandages, they're good for velocity wounds such as this one, and they last about 6 to 8 minutes. And lastly, quick clot. Those are our smallest bandages, so you might need 2 to cover this wound. However, they last the longest. So if you have a lot of wounds and you're not next to a medic, you probably want to spam some quick clots so they last long. They last about 45 to an hour in my experience. So since this is just a normal velocity wound, I'm gonna give him a packing bandage, even though you can use any of them. That instantly clears his medium velocity wound. Now I would want to go to the advanced treatments tab and examine and treatment and use surgical kit. And all that means is I'm stitching. So yeah, now in the overview menu, it'll say there'll be a little S in brackets, and it'll be grayed out where the velocity wound used to be red. That just means it's been stitched, so you don't have to worry about it. He's not going to continue to bleed. The red bones actually mean that his leg is currently broken. Whenever someone suffers a fracture, they can't sprint or use that limb properly. So, for example, the reason why it's...
also in a lot of pain.
Yes, they are in a lot of pain. So, I'm going to apply this splint to allow Novus to run again. And yeah, now Novus should be able to run again. Don't remove the tourniquet off a patient because you actually use their medical stuff first. So whenever you apply a tourniquet, that means you actually using Novus's tourniquet. So whenever you're done doing that to somebody, just make sure you let them know, hey, you're done. Make sure you take off your tourniquet. So Novus, can you demonstrate that? Yeah, you're good. As you can see at the bottom left, the activity log, it just demonstrates what I did to Novus. So I applied a tourniquet, then I bandaged him. It doesn't show the stitch that I did to him, but it shows the splint. So that just lets you know what somebody previous to you has done. Okay, so injectors. So morphine, obviously, is morphine. It numbs pain and it also lowers your heart rate. This is kind of scary to use sometimes because morphine in our mod is very unstable. So I'm gonna check Novus's pulse real quick. And it's at 94. I would not recommend using a morphine unless his heart rate's over 120. I understand he's in pain, but usually if their heart rate's under 120, they have a chance of passing out. So we're not going to use any morphine right now. Adenosine is the same thing as morphine without the fact that it will not remove pain. So it just lowers your heart rate in the sense. So whenever someone is saying, "Hey, I can hear my heart," make sure you ask them, "Is it fast or low?" And if they say, "Oh yeah, my heart is beating really fast," you want to use an adenosine. Don't use a morphine. Like I said, sometimes it's unstable, and sometimes people tend to pass out from morphine. So I would recommend using adenosine. Epinephrine is an adrenaline shot. After you use a morphine, I usually tend to use 2 of these to counteract the morphine because I get scared of passing out because it's happened to me. And I'm pretty sure Dingo has accidentally knocked out somebody, and Wilson has too. And it's all okay. Just remember, morphine's super potent, so you want to counteract it with epinephrine whenever you can. Okay, the last thing we're going to go over is advanced treatment. Red letters in the overview section will tell you how much blood you have lost. There is multiple different types of blood loss in our mod. Starting with this one, lost some blood. This is fine. He is still basically stable. He does not need any blood. If he were to pass out, you do not have to give him blood to wake him back up as long as he only has lost some blood. The next level is lost a lot of blood, which will require you to give him 500 to 1,000 milliliters of blood to wake him back up, because that means he's officially blood knocked. So even if he has a heart rate and he's lost a lot amount of blood, you will not wake him up unless he has blood going into him, and until he gets back to lost some blood or this entire red font goes away. The next level is lost a large amount of blood. You'll need anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500, so both of these, to wake him back up. And the last level of blood knocked is fatal amount of blood. If you ever see this, you probably want to start pumping 2,000 blood immediately. And yeah, just start getting blood into him because he's probably really, really critical and just about to die. So that's pretty much it. Also, if someone's wounded and unconscious, you could carry him using this drag/carry and examine and treatment. So that's another way to carry somebody without using ACE interaction, which will be taught to you in BCT. And the last little thing is toggle self. This just flips the medical menu to me. So now I can see what's wrong with me if I get shot while I'm doing medical to Novus. And if I click it again, it switches back to Novus. So yeah, now I'm gonna shoot Novus a bunch of times. Wilson and Dingo are gonna work together on reviving Novus, and that'd be the conclusion to our CLS training.
Wait, what?
Yes. So you want to stand up?
Wait. Can we talk about this?
Alright. Don't kill him.
One more for good measure.
No.
Alright, for fuck's sake.
Alright, you better start working on him, Dingo.
I'm trying to get in his legs.
I'm getting his chest.
Notice the communications between the both medics while they're doing this. Do you have someone immediately going for the limbs so he doesn't bleed out from the limbs? The fastest way to bleed out in Arma is through a head wound, then the chest, so he needs to patch up the chest immediately. Actually, I'm going to help him out because he has a lot of chest wounds.
I'm gonna start giving blood.
Make sure you're always in constant communication between people that are doing medical. You don't want to have multiple guys giving them blood, because then you could mess up and wound up giving him 4,000 milliliters of blood or something, which could kill him. So that's just a heads up.
Itching.
Okay, you're stitching. Did you give him more blood?
Yeah, I'm giving him blood right now.
Okay, so we have someone stitching, which is Dingo. Wilson's giving him blood. I'm gonna begin CPR. Make sure he has a heart rate whenever they lose more than a lot of blood. So right now Novus was in the fatal. Want to make sure someone's constantly doing CPR because they could just randomly die due to cardiac arrest. Also, if we were in the middle of a battle right now, you'd want to be yelling at a trooper to be giving you guys security. So now that he's pretty much stable, I'll just pretend I'm pulling security while they're working on that.
Alright, 160. Itching.
Alrighty. As you noticed beforehand, there was probably a couple colors on each limb. Yellow and red. Red means critical. Yellow is wounded. If you ever see blue, don't worry about it. If the whole body's blue, that's fine. That just means he's bruised. We can't do anything about bruises, unfortunately. But hey, it's better than being full of hoes and dying. So yeah, that blue on the torso is gonna be there until he recovers naturally in game. Now I'm gonna check if he has a heart rate. He does, which was, like I said before, was already demonstrated. Dingo did a really nice job of checking his heart rate 3 times. If you notice, his heart rate will spike up, especially when he's in pain. This is fine, you don't have to worry about it. Usually whenever he gets back to being stable, his heart rate will drop to the normal heart rate of 80, so it's good that his heart rate's slowly dropping. However, if he does not have a heart rate of at least 80, he will not wake up. So if he has a heart rate of 60, he'll still be alive, but he'll need an epinephrine shot, which is adrenaline, to wake him up because he needs his heart rate to at least be 80.
And he'll wake up soon.
Yeah. Right now, we're just waiting on blood. This is what blood knock means. Is he's completely stable, he's not bleeding, has a heart rate, but since he lost a lot of blood, he will not wake up until he receives blood that will get him to lost some blood like it just switched to, or that red font completely disappearing due to him having enough blood in the system to be normal. And there he is. Elvis is back, thanks to Dingo and Wilson. And yeah, so if you are gonna get the medical call, your final test will look something like that. I'll just wound a random trooper. You'll have to work on him and demonstrate that you can revive him. And yeah, you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, or anything to add to the video?
Thank you for coming to medical call.
Travis, you have anything? I think you're muted, bud.
I just want to say bullets hurt.
They do. So make sure don't shoot him. I could go over G-Tab right now. That was pretty fast. I thought it was gonna take a lot longer. Elvis, if you want.
Just make it a separate video.
Okay.
And, like, you can edit EOS